Morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and in the studio already we have our guest. We have an excited Ofono Opondo. Good morning, Good
morning, Bosomesa.
Yes.
And good morning to our listeners from Cooper 1.
Well,
Cooper 1 Road. This Cooper Road.
It is, yes.
In the sunny morning.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see both guests.
Both guests.
Yes. One had been rapping us here badly, but the newest, I'm mesmerized, yeah.
It took him a little while to recognize Azawi, but you're most welcome to Gang.
I'm a fan of her music.
You're a fan of her music.
Thank you.
Welcome, Honorable Semuju. Welcome, Agatha Atuhaire, and welcome, Azawi, to the Capital Gang. So, as I asked you before we came on air, what has brought you into this territory, Azawi?
First of all...
But, Oscar, someone listening to this conversation for the first time... Will that person know which territory you are talking about?
From the music industry to the social, political, as Ofono Kondo has introduced her.
First of all, I don't know why people think when you start demanding for accountability from our policymakers or our leaders, then you've turned into a politician. I haven't been so long in the music industry. It's just like 5 years. So to me, it just felt like the right thing to do. The problems that we have been facing as a country haven't changed from the time I was a kid to this point when I'm an adult. So when you look at such a situation, right now I pay tax as an artist, I pay tax every month. Leave alone the shows that we host and stuff like that. But for me, as an artist, I pay tax every month on the money that I receive as an artist. So it is quite saddening and heartbreaking to always see the money that we work so hard for and avail it to the government. And at the end of the day, there is nothing that reconciliates with the amounts of taxes that we pay. There's no productivity, there's no progress. So being in the position that I'm in right now, being that I've been blessed, the people of this country have loved me so much and they've given me a platform and a name to myself. So it just felt like it was the right thing to do, to use this voice, to use my voice to air out the things they talk about every day down there. Because for you guys, you never get to meet people. But me as a Zawi, I am always in a different category of people every weekend. Even after this program, there's a performance that I'm going to be, attending to. And this, it doesn't matter. There are different classes, the rich, the poor. So I know what I'm talking about, and I see the things that our people go through. So it's just right for me to air out my voice and use it to speak about the different adversities they go through as people. And I just want our leaders to be accountable, to give us an explanation, to change things. And I don't feel like I should be called a politician for that.
You want accountability?
I just want accountability.
But are you ready? Are you ready for this field? You know, Agatha entered this field a few months ago.
I feel like you don't have to be ready.
No, I was going to say the insults she gets. She has received
you don't
insults,
have to be,
everything.
We already, our country is already under insult. By the time you have to be vocal and audible about these things as a citizen, because it's your responsibility to demand for accountability. And keeping quiet,
yeah. Like this is
a better is peace,
freedom.
Like freedom,
to
do whatever they want. And it's not the right thing to do, because right now, when you look, when was the last time did we hold an election? Like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And many politicians promised us so many things, but then when you look at their tenure, there is nothing they can present to their people. But then again, they're going to go back and ask for another term to come and serve. So what are you doing? Where is the delivery? You guys, you are in parliament. You're over like 557, people. Why isn't there some sort of improvement? You're more than the parliament of Tanzania, South Africa, Kenya, and these are actually bigger countries, bigger states than us. But you guys, muri banji,
things are not happening.
But there is nothing you're doing for this country to see.
Has even given you his time.
Yes. Like, you just learn the game of words. Like, you know how to use your words and play with us. And it's I feel so bad for you guys, because you think we don't understand. You think we are stupid. You think Ugandans are stupid. But Ugandans are very, very intelligent people. We have gone to school. Some of us are even more educated than you guys there. And you think...
you have kept this musungu, so to speak.
So
what sparked it? Is it Agatha's anti-corruption work?
No, I've always been like this.
You've been like that?
I've always been like this. It's just that before I was a nobody. And nobody could take me serious. But right now, I have a status, and now people are paying attention.
Well.
For me, I'm because I've been in the ghetto, I've grown there, I've seen how it's so hard to survive in this country. If you're not blessed, if God doesn't just show you grace, you might end up living a hell until the time you die. But why should we go through that when we have everything we need to live a good life as a country? So I'm just quite disappointed with our legislators, the people in parliament. I feel like when they go there, they get so detached from the reality. You might find that, okay, let me even just give an example about the service award. It's very easy to give someone who is very privileged in this country that amount of money, but then you forget there is an ordinary Ugandan down there who just struggles to get 1,000 Ugandan shillings to survive, to get what to eat. But gwe solofuna obukadde bitano, and you give a member of parliament. These are actually privileged people. They have everything they need, but then no one get sentezo. But there's just an ordinary Ugandan down there who cannot even.
Azawi, welcome to Gang. We like the voice you're using the platform. You have even made Ofono Opondo smile. Ofono Opondo gets insulted all the time on social media, and for that one we don't mind.
That's social media. That's social media for you.
We want him to even. We don't mind that one. He's his government, so
he's paid to be insulted.
Yes, so that one is okay. But Agatha here also gets insulted. But Ofono Opondo, let's go to the substantive topic: the garbage, Chitezi landfill collapse.
No,
for you, from your... You want to first respond to Azawi?
I thought you haven't given our listeners justice. When somebody says Azawi, what's the other name?
She uses Azawi. All of us who know her, we use Azawi.
No, but you, as a moderator, I thought...
But we are asked to introduce.
Yes.
No, he knows how much better than I don't know the other name. So I thought he should have...
I promise you, that name is enough.
Okay.
But
I associate myself with what she says, and I've said this on another show. I said, particularly for the NRM leaders and the NRM party, we are increasingly speaking above the heads of Ugandans, and particularly young people. The Azawis and the Semojis like saying, if you have not contested for election and won and entered parliament, they think, as the Azawi says, you are a nobody. Who are you to ask them to make accountability? And so, the NRM leadership, listening to all these young people, we need to take seriously. Otherwise, the struggle of the NRM, the revolution of the NRM will be in nullity. Last week, I got so disappointed when you hear these young people denouncing President Museveni that he's not their judge. Young people of 20. They say, no. You are not our grandfather. It's so... I don't know whether my colleagues in NRM already will see these things the way I see, that you have these young people. How did you come to this point that young people are denouncing President Museveni as not their grandfather? And yet he uses it fondly, he likes them, he is working for them, but they seem not to be seeing. So there's a disconnect. Now, about Kitezi. Kitezi is one among many eyesores in Kampala. If we just want to restrict ourselves to Kampala for context. About a month ago, I wrote an article. I said the potholes, garbage, traffic jam, Dorothy Kisaka, and areas of Kwago are the eyesores in Kampala. Dorothy Kisaka, my sister, called me to express displeasure because I had said the leadership of Kampala are as much eyesores as the potholes. And she had wanted to meet me. I told her, please bring it up. Let's meet. I think she chickened out. She didn't meet me. But
you said bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on.
You were ready.
I was ready to meet her so that we have a discussion.
Let's remind her, he's the NRM person on the show. So.
Yeah. But NRM is supposed to. Yeah. NRM supposed to have. NRM is supposed to have principled, open, constructive criticism. We don't mean to hurt anybody. Like as we said, and like many people say, we want better governance for Uganda. And NRM raised standards and expectations. It appears to me we are falling behind those standards we raised.
Did you have standards?
Yeah, we did. Otherwise, Uganda would have collapsed long ago. Now, Kitezi, I said on another show, I said, we all manage rubbish or garbage in our homes. So just magnify the things, the good practices we do in homes to the national level. In the case of Kitezi, you say, okay, it was a gazette, it was demarcated probably 30 years ago. Where have been Kampala leaders not to see that the city is increasing in size, in population, in garbage outside, not to improve that side by doing basic things. For example, if you cannot acquire a new landfill place beyond Kampala bound, but I mean, Kampala should have the money, the government of Uganda should have money to go even as far as Ukwe to get bigger land if they want, and create infrastructure that is commensurate with the garbage you are collecting and you are dumping and processing. In the case of Kitezi, just for example, enclosing it. enclosing it so that you have restricted access. And whoever accesses it should be unauthorized person. Now, if there are people who access it unlawfully and a danger like this happens, then you don't have much to be blamed about. But the fact that you have that Kitezi, there is no fence, for example, and you allow anybody to go there, people who are scavenging, people who are going to sort rubbish and things like that. I think it is a failure of leadership, it is a failure of management, it is a failure of organization. And another, I said, in my assessment, I think the executive director and the Lord Mayor, in my view, failed the people of Kampala. The executive director, in particular, I said, I don't think she has what it takes. She has what it takes. She has what it takes to be the top manager of KCCA.
Thank you.
If I had my way, I think she would have left yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Because there's nothing that is working in Kampala, not just Kitezi.
Okay.
I first deal with the immediate duty bearer.
Honorable Sam, you stop heckling.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you all. So welcome, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto to Gang. Most welcome to the Capital Gang this
thank
morning.
You, Oscar. Good morning to the gangsters and to my sisters in the studio. Normally, I've been lonely, so I'm very happy to see.
Just say good morning,
girls.
Azawi. Say good morning, Azawi.
Good morning,
Azawi.
Azawi.
Yeah.
Greetings from Mumbali City. It's circumcision season. Don't worry if you're not circumcised. You should come. I will protect you if you fear. But if you don't fear, it is the season. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Honorable Abdul Katuntu. Welcome, Honorable Abdul Katuntu. This is the morning.
You can table. I will check and confirm.
Thank you, Oscar. Yeah. Good morning, listeners.
Do you know what happened this morning? So Abdul recognized Azawi straight. Unfortunately, Semuju did not.
No, good morning, Azawi. When I walked in, I had the loitering in some arguments.
Let's go to Honorable Semuju. Is Kitezi in your constituency, Honorable Semuju?
No, I represented the Kitezi before the constituency was divided. So it was part of Chadondo East, but now I represent Chira municipality.
Okay.
So I represented Kitezi for 5 years.
So you know about it?
Yes.
So Kitezi, people have died there. That landfill was commissioned in 1993. I know the manager had commissioned it. And he says it was commissioned for 10 years. It was supposed to last 10 years. So 1993 to 2003. It's gone on another 20 years. It was an accident in waiting.
30 years.
20 years after its expiry date.
You see, the anger expressed by many people, including Fonopono, who speaks for government, someone coming into the country will think that other things are working. You may not count people who are dying in Morago. I think a hospital cannot be decommissioned.
Let me switch off the whisper.
It cannot be decommissioned. You may not count the number of accidents we have had on Kampala roads in the state that they are in. So the anger is understandable because people have died at a go. But incrementally, people are dying from many other things, many other failures. And I don't know why Ofono Pondo singles out Chisaka and says she's incompetent. It's very. The other day I told Ruth Acheng in Parliament, I am happy with her performance. All the other problems notwithstanding. Because at least there they appointed someone with the competence, with the knowledge. Because you may have the competence, but not the knowledge of the area where you are being deployed. But most of the deployments by Mr. Museveni and your government of Ofono, I don't even think they care about knowledge. All average people have found themselves anywhere. You will find, and I'm not as I will forgive me, but you'll find a musician is a minister of health, and then you find a health doctor is a minister of fine art. Then it's just confusion, deliberately. I saw the prime minister laughing and joking in Kitezi, and that is Nabanja. The Nabanja I have known was actually that Nabanja who appeared in Kitezi, and you can't fault her because that's who she is. So the problems of Kitezi, Oscar, let me begin 2011 when I became the MP for Chadondo East. The settlements were not as heavy as they are today, but people have settled in the neighborhood. Every inch neighboring Kitezi is now occupied, with that heap of garbage also growing as the population is growing and settlements growing. The World Bank, when I was an MP using a World Bank report that recommended for decommissioning of Kitezi, I presented it to Parliament, but it was not reported to me. It was actually reported to government.
What year was this?
That must be around 2012, 2013. So as early as that time, the World Bank was saying decommission. Part of the reason was that at the time of constructing that dump waste, there are not many names. People say it is not a landfill. They are just depositing their garbage. World Bank said, you see, because of the population, you can no longer dump garbage there. You need to decommission. We had protests. My chairman then, the LOC chairman and the fence of Kitezi. Kitezi is also a village. They got arrested because we had blocked the road, saying, you Kampala people don't bring your garbage here. The response was to arrest them. And the defense from Catholic, those traditional families, they actually were telling him, you resign, leave these things, we can't afford you going to prison. They did not attend to Kitezi.
And is it true after they were arrested, they put guards around the landfill?
No.
What
they did, we went into a negotiation, and what they gave us was to pave the road from Perero to Kitezi. Actually, because they went beyond the boundary of Kampala, so paved up to our area. Okay, we said this painkiller will relieve us of this immediate pain of you bringing Kasasiro and dropping Kasasiro at every point. So they didn't attend to it. But Kampala, Oscar, just to go back to Kampala, my interaction with the National Water when I was chairing a committee of Parliament at that time was that the sewage lines constructed by the colonial administration, they were covering 9% of Kampala sewage lines. Covering 9%. So I don't think there has been any improvement since then. So the population,
has grown.
Is growing every day. But the facilities remain the facilities of the Kampala, of the colonial.
Honorable Samu, you know, my brother Abudu ran away from Naguru, his house in Naguru, because there is no sewage line.
Where he went, does it? Yeah. Is it there?
I don't know. Maybe it's being is using like it's doing in Bugweri. There's some space that can be big.
So the planning of the city, the facilities in the city, haven't grown, and it's not only Kampala. One time, Oscar, I sat on the parliamentary committee on national economy, and we were borrowing money to improve the infrastructure in the old towns. Mbale, Jinja, Soroti. You can see that the planning, the streets, the city, the smaller city inside that was constructed there by the colonial administration is far much different from the one that has grown upon. You see, the same way they think of everything, everybody can go to school even if you don't study. Everybody can come to Parliament even if you sleep but wake up and vote NRM. Everybody can dump in Kitezi. So that's the mentality, the Marxist mentality of Museveni, I think, has never gone out of his head. If you have one dose of malaria, you share everybody. So that is reflected in many things that government is doing. And Kitezi is just one illustration. We may not get accidents on the roads, people may not report them, they may not die at a go to be a disaster. But this is a reflection, and I want to ask Ofono Pondo to make the same call to Mr. Museveni the call he has made to Chisaka. And from her submission, I think I have also started now believing that maybe even us at our age we have expired.
From whose submission?
As there is a submission. You people are too many there, you are doing nothing. Maybe we'll need to substitute ourselves altogether and then hand the country into another pair of hands. And once you do that periodically, you may not get the results immediately, but along the way, some other people, well-meaning, more competent, will come in. I think, and I can understand, Museveni, who laughs at his prime minister, he hears criticism and then he laughs and tears begin rolling. He said, for me, I like Nabanja, my fisherman cabinet. So he does not take these things as serious as he used to be when there was energy in his body. When he says, I'm a judge, he's a judge in all respect. So he looks at these things as a form of entertainment. So you appoint a prime minister to be happy that she's messing up. You appoint a vice president and then you laugh at them.
Let me go to Agatha.
So that's what Dr. Wesley said yesterday, that we need a reset.
A reset.
The Museveni, who was energetic and inspecting government projects and getting competent people to do. Because when Museveni came here, compare his first cabinet and the cabinet he has today. He was reaching out to find people who are competent to be part of the government human resource. Today he appoints people that will give him entertainment and he will laugh at them. Very happy. Because do
you ever meet Nabanja in the corridors of Parliament?
We keep meeting.
Okay.
And if I don't fault Nabanja.
Oh.
Because he has remained the same. And Museveni knew that Nabanja will be Nabanja.
Well, at one time, Right Honorable Nabanja asked the Honorable Semuju.
Move closer to the microphone.
At one time, the Right Honorable Nabanja asked the Honorable Semuju what he wants.
You're missing out on what he wants from her. Like in Uganda on Jagazaji.
And she said, I would be much willing to give you.
You are now misrepresenting her.
Agatha, with ER, there's rubbish all over town. City Council has been trying to find where to take the rubbish. Now even your Gen Z cannot step out and walk Kampala streets because there will be rubbish all over.
I think I have never seen or experienced any sadder, most enraging tragedy that people, the irony alone, that people are buried in rubbish. And there's something we have not yet talked about. So after the rubbish buried people, what happened? How long did it take for response, for rescue, for any action from government to get there? So you start by knowing that there's a danger waiting to happen. You know it, like you said, Oscar, for 20 years. There are so many ways you could have dealt with that, because mainly the reason that heap kept getting to where it got is decomposition failure. Is, you have not assorted the rubbish. There were plans to generate power from it. There were plans to do a recycling plant. There were plans for gas, and all those plans and proposals were there, have been there. Some, it's the corruption of this country that killed them. Others, it's prioritization. That you tell people that you do not have 26 billion to avert this tragedy where over 100 people died. The bodies that have been found are in their 30s, but over 100 people died there. By over 100, I think they can even
when you
200.
consider the space.
When not just the space, because the Agora team was there. You have people telling you how many houses were buried. They are close to 90. So even if each house has had one person, you already have 100. But then there's a bigger population that was working there. People that would come to get plastics. And they say 7:45 when the garbage slide happened is the peak of when people are there working. The rescue team was able to, the circumference that was excavated is not even 20% of the entire process.
Even up to now?
Yes, even up to now. We had the Red Cross in a discussion on Thursday night, and the Red Cross's policy is that after 5 days, normally, the rescue normally takes 5 days, unless, they can add 1 or 2. But the lady was saying that it's no longer even, it doesn't make any sense anymore. People who are buried by rubbish with that heat, that there's no chance that after five days you're going to even find a recognizable body. So you have those who had already, the bodies that had already been recovered, that had no skin, they had already been burnt. So the Red Cross was thinking, is it even still, does it make any point for us to continue anyway? So you fail people, they are buried by garbage. You fail them, you don't come on time. People were under there calling, using their phone calls. Their phones to call, screaming. There are people hearing them. The first excavator got there at 3 p.m., almost 8 hours later. But there was police, there was military. And
I've heard that was a private excavator.
Yes, the first one was private because there was someone whose wife was there trying to rescue them. But there was police, there was military, police got there and people were trying to use their hands to dig out. Guys, I saw Nabanja laughing. For me, even now, I can't laugh when there's that discussion. Or even after. It's so sad that people have lived there and you have seen them and you have known it will happen because we've seen these proposals, we've seen these documents saying it is now up to its capacity in 2008. You've seen the internal memo of KCCA saying it's already peeling off the cliffs, and you just keep quiet. Then after you come, and a president of the country comes and says, but people should also stop living in dangerous places. This wasn't a dangerous place. You cannot compare that to a lakeshore or a riverbank. Take responsibility for once. You have the Prime Minister who gets there in her laughing and saying, like you're making fun of it. And who also said, gosh, it's
I didn't know you have all that Uganda in you.
It's not, I tried. They say the word this morning that I had never heard of, but I know if you... It's not an act of God, and you are using God to evade responsibility. And up to now, 6 days later, no apology, no...
The other day they were evicting people, they arrested Semoju. These ones could have been evicted as well.
No resignation, no action taken. You're not even saying, let's at least declare a day of mourning for these people. It's as if they do not matter. You are in Thanksgivings. And what really bothers me the most, Oscar, is that we sit here and we find the leaders lamenting, like all of us, for God's sake. What are we supposed to do? You find the spokesperson of government
and the person
also
in
carrying.
SEC.
You find, for her, I have not yet heard it, but if you find MPs, what are we going to do?
Let's go to the leader in SEC. Let's start with Lydia. Lydia Wanyoto, who, as Agatha here says, that you must not lament. You are the most powerful person on this table.
To the families that have lost relatives in Chitezi, please receive my heartfelt condolences. No life is worth losing, more so in such situations, because these are situations that are actually preventable. This morning I was seeing that the count is about 34 people, but I think those are the ones that have been recovered.
Official
so
count.
We don't know those that are yet to be recovered. And everybody in our times really deserves a good life or a manageable life, but more so, even when the life has been wasted, a decent burial. Oscar, in 2021, I picked interest in Kampala City Authority work because after COVID, I realized that many women are part of the city industry. They're the ones that handle the night industry, roadside markets, they are the ones that work late in the night. And when they constructed this, is it Usafi and the one in Wandegea, all these Weyogere markets, they are the ones that are the majority. So when I saw the Prime Minister go to the markets, I wrote a proposal. I was interested in mobilizing women and see how they can improve and they're being chased away from the Rubiji, that wetland area. Majority are women. So my interest was how we can support women. Some of them are single parents with children going to those areas to sell and make a survival. When I was moving around those offices and the means, there are two ministers in KCCA. I began seeing the leadership of KCCA travel abroad. I think it was twice or 2 times when they went to abroad to receive awards. That Kampala city was one, I think, of the best cities. So I got confused. It's like, do I live in Kampala? Because then I was like, I think we are not on the same table. You must be leaders that are on the same table, not only in terms of competencies, but mindsets, but also empathy. Empathy. If you don't have empathy as a leader, you have no business holding an official office. Because if you do not feel people, then what are you doing in that office? So when I saw people getting awards, I was asking, do I live in Kampala? Do we see the same things? That was way then when I was just looking at women and how they are surviving, and the majority how they are surviving in Kampala. So I began losing interest in engaging because I realized that we are not on the same page. Because how do you get awards abroad? I'm sorry to ask this, but that was how I was beginning to feel. I do not think that we still have the same thinking about what is it that Kampala state should look like. Don't leave alone the potholes and the settlements. For me, it's about the people. The people. How have you slept? Where has your child gone to school? Have you had lunch or dinner? How are you dressed? Those basics about the people, the population in Kampala. So I think there is a big disconnect. Now, the challenge we have of those of us that serve the NRM party and that is in the ruling party of the government of Uganda is a challenge we have with it. It looks like our internal contradictions. And I think it is more painful for us to come and speak here, because if you say some people should be in prison, I think we should all of us should be in prison. But then where did the back start, the rain start beating us from? So I think for me, I want to take responsibility and I don't want to pass this over, but we hope that we can find a table where these voices can be heard and action taken, really. So because we are in government as a party, I want to say on my part we take responsibility. If others refuse, at least we know that Lydia took responsibility, because I'm a leader of the women of the party. And majority of those who are suffering actually are women. At least in the state from where I was beginning to see after COVID, where are the women of Kampala? How do they survive? How do they drill in the markets, on the roadsides? In Rubiji? Rubiji is that area of the wetland. So the story is on the table.
Might even offer his coffee to you. And
it's very sad. It's not even worth lamenting, because this was a preventable problem.
Yeah.
It began by those who were being evicted and their houses being fallen at that area of wetlands. There's the refugee story, but there also the story is bigger. And when you look at Kampala city, someone was asking, what is working? That's a big question that is not for me to answer, because really, what is working? And it was very interesting as I finished. There's a time when the Lord Mayor was on NBS talk show. I was watching, and somebody asked him that, there's so much calmness at the city hall these days. What is the trick? Because in the past there used to be fights and this and that, but now there was so much calmness. And he was blaming people outside. In fact, he was blaming people outside, the officers outside KCCA. So it was like everything in KCCA is all well. But those of us that utilize KCCA, we do not see that. We realize that there's something not correct. So there's also that debate there. How come there's so much calmness and smiles at KCCA headquarters, But outside it, those of us that benefit from their services, there is so much that is wanting. What is the story at the KCC hall that has caused that calmness and the neatness that outside
let's go to
is
Abdul.
the contradiction?
Honorable Katuntu, Chitezi, the warnings were there. They have a ministry now, and the ministry
They have
was
two ministers.
two ministers. It was designed
And
because
the two mayors.
and it was designed because they said the KCC wasn't working.
There is a Lord Mayor,
And now we
Lord
had-
Mayor, and an ED and a deputy ED.
First of all, Oscar, as a country, I think we failed the victims of Chitezi. There should be no justification whatsoever, or even any reason given by anybody authority to say that whatever happened in Chitezi was an accident. We should have seen it all coming. And this is purely because it has gone to the magnitude of Chitezi, then we are now having a public discuss about it. But this city, as I know it, is one of the most mismanaged cities in the world. Everybody knows it. Just walk on the streets, you see open gutters, even simple things like a garbage collection. Forget about management, just collection. You just drive on all these outskirts. You just find all garbage just by the roadside, in the middle of the towns around and urban centers.
And the workers are not paid.
Just like a few weeks ago, actually, the workers were striking and they blocked the KCCA main gate and so on. Why? And this is about people who are just collecting garbage. Simple thing. Yes, it is true that cities all over the world, they have a challenge of solid waste management. But Uganda, really, and it's not about Kampala. Just go in each and every so-called urban center and you see the filth. Oscar, sometimes you wonder what is going on. Let's go back to what Ibrahim was talking about. When you look at all these urban centers from the time of the colonial time to actually Amin time. Amin, who is supposed to be the most buffoonery leader Uganda has ever produced. When I was growing up in Iganga, we had the Iganga Town Council. Those streets were being washing. There was in the evening around 7, 8. The Iganga Town Council employees would be washing the streets. We had street lights. Garbage was being collected every evening, so that by the following day in the morning, the town is cleaner. The markets were being cleaned. Just go in the markets today. When I go there, I see most ladies are the ones who go there to shop and so on. It's not like you are going to a place where you are buying food. You know, they just separate the tomatoes from the garbage. The greens you eat, forks, the greens you eat are sort of stored in some sort of, dirty water because they must keep it fresh. I don't know whether we have a Kampala City Council, whatever it is, management authority. It's wrong. And we can go on and on and on.
You and I, we use the expressway and Kajansi Spa. That road is washed every other day.
Yes.
You find them scrubbing. It's like an irony.
Yeah. Yeah, but you see, we cannot have just an isolated road.
Yes.
This should be all about
be for
Kampala.
everywhere.
And let me tell you, and that's why, obviously, everything, the back, they say, starts and ends with the politician because we are the decision makers and we should all plead guilty. But also, the so-called technical people, they are supposed to be experts. And when you look at a budget process, we give what we call an MTF. We give a ceiling. The planning and so on is sorted out by the technical people. Kampala State Council is given how much money every year? 80, I think.
It's about 350.
It's around 350 billion. But that's the one they give. So, okay, sort out here priorities. And technical people are supposed to look at the priorities of the city. when you look at the priorities of the city, I don't know where they are. One, the roads are bad. Two, there's garbage everywhere. And in this era, Oscar, we can't talk about what my brother here was talking about, of a landfill. There are modern technologies today to manage the waste. That's the debate we should be having. Just go to a small city like Kigali. Those boys and girls, younger boys and girls, have improved that city. It's one of the best cities you want to go to and visit and relax. That we are here like we lived in Aleman times. It's really disheartening. And
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody, if really we are sober enough, we should be saying sorry to the entire country. We failed the people of Chitese.
Yes, as I should tell you, Norman Magembe says, please, I've just joined the online version because the radio is off. Listeners' radio in Kampala has been off. They're trying to fix it, but go online. I've posted how you can go online. And Magembe says, please get her to speak again. Then Uncle Joram says, I'm so impressed by Agatha's improvements in Luganda. Yes.
First of all, I want to also send my sincere condolences to the people of Kitezi. May the Lord strengthen you in this difficult time. For me, I feel like whatever the situation in Kitezi is just the start. I feel like our city is just a ticking time bomb. I'm going to give you an example. You see, within people settlements, within places where there are businesses running, we have found that there's so many fuel reserves. And these places are situated to close to schools, close to markets. And you're like, okay, we have a situation in Kitezi, but God forbid, what if a morning comes and a mistake happens and this fuel pump...
Can I give you some information? Just look at Kampala, what is it called, as you go to Kibuli?
Yeah.
There's a primary school there.
There is a school there, Green Hill.
Green Hill.
Green Hill.
Yes.
There are 3 fuel
Reserves.
depots. It's not even petrol station, but reserves. One of Total, then the immediate neighbor, the upper side is also a fuel reserve. Just imagine a slight accident in that place. Just a slight accident.
There's another one in Mogas, where Banda. There's a suburb right there. So many people are staying there, but there's a huge fuel reserve. And you ask yourself, like, who authorizes the construction of such structures within people settlements? What will they tell people? Yes. What will they tell people if one morning an accident happens and thousands die? I feel like by now, if we were a serious functional state, people would have been fired. I wouldn't want to see Mr. Luyimbas talking to us again.
Who is Mr. Luyimbas, the deputy ED?
Yes. What is he telling us? That entire cabinet should have been all overthrown and taken away. The problems we are facing, and they are piling up, it's just because we are allowing incompetence without punishment. So many good guys are not winning, and so many bad guys are going unpunished. Like, we are a joke. For me, I'm very disappointed. When I was young, I used to think like every grown person has an independent mind that thinks stuff that is actually important and has impact, positive impact. But the more you grow, the more you understand that everyone is just all about themselves. Who's going to take care of the kids that lost their parents in Kitezi? Who's going to pay their school fees?
Pardon?
The Prime Minister adopted one right there. The kid who came back from the shop and found no home, no
and
no
of course,
parents.
we thank them, but is that sustainable? who's gonna compensate the people who lost their property? Because in actual sense, these guys have been paying tax. The people that have been staying there, operating businesses, they've been paying tax to this country. So who's going to compensate them?
Hopefully, but government has a responsibility to them.
We haven't seen any action being taken. Everyone is quiet. This is a situation that needs emergency reaction. But people are they're taking things on a very, basic pace. And you're like, this is a very small country to manage. What is really so hard? It's not like we don't have the money. We have the money. Anyway,
Well,
the questions are so many and the answers are very
we are going to stop
limited.
for a break.
Yeah.
And after the break, we continue the discussions. Welcome back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. OO is being made to explain why he's talking about landfills in this day and age.
No, my brother.
Lift the microphone up a little bit.
My brother Budukatunda seem not to be appreciating what I'm saying. I'm saying the best option would be to process, using the technology he's talking about, to process the garbage into other useful byproducts, as he's talking about. However, since we have all agreed that the leadership in the KCCA, and for that matter in the country, we are so basic, at least let us do the most basic. For example, for example, if Kitez is full, enclose the place so that nobody has access to that place. Go to Nakasongolo, wherever, buy
The
land.
other day they were chasing Semuju out of Lubiji.
Secondly, I believe that the administration in Wakiso and the Kampala have been approving those buildings. So who has been approving the construction in a place where people are not supposed to be?
What you are believing
If you
is
can
not
allow,
correct, because
let
they don't
me-
approve them.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
When I was chairing a committee, one of the questions I asked government entities when they were appearing was their capacity. NBS told me, who are supposed to certify things that you are consuming, that they're operating at 25%. UNBS. NEMA told me they're operating at about 30%. They were receiving about 10,000, 12,000 applications, but able to process less than 2,000. In most of these areas, most of these buildings are not approved. We are living in Stone Age. Once you get your bricks and some sand, you begin construction.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The leadership is basic. And so we use that to avoid accountability. And life goes on as if it is normal. Because
Just ask anybody in this town
but
who has an occupational permit. The building is constructed.
No, but I am raising, you are raising that one, but as I was just asked you, who approves, for example, the fuel tank in industrial area was done in the 60s. There was no school there.
It was a list settled.
How come 70 years later, the
Houses
Kampala
have
City
been-
Council and Minister of Energy have not thought it wise to decommission and ask those companies to move out of the city, and so on. And the petrol stations we're talking about, we have seen running battles with the rich guys who are constructing petrol stations in the middle of residential buildings, in the middle of shops and things like that.
There's one over there.
Yes.
Here. No.
So
I'm talking about the petrol station located
I was
opposite
talking
Capital.
about our failure to deal with the basics. And you remember one time I said it on this show, the Society of Architects of Uganda, I think, that Chambogo place, took there the president to launch the building of their headquarters. That Minister of Works place. After the launch, at that time, Honorable Nasasra was the Minister of Works. It was after the launch for the construction of the house that they were told that where they were going to construct their headquarters, there was a sewage line under. Now, you say, this is the Society of Architects of Uganda couldn't know that the land they had acquired was a sewage place. And up to now, it's stalled. It hasn't been constructed. So that is the level of the
in our area, Nachigala area, the president was invited to commission store for NDA, National Drugs Authority, and that one's built in a wetland.
Yeah. So Honorable Abu Kodun, I was talking about the basics.
And he seemed upset.
In front of my brother here.
Yeah.
In front of my
so,
brother.
We're going to pause on this one.
No. In Idudi, women are selling tomatoes on bare ground, exactly in front of his gate.
Well, these days there is some time.
No, instead he fled. He fled that particular one. He now went to Bute in the village.
But Ofono Pondo, you at some point you're going to have to make a statement as a Uganda government spokesman on the rubbish. What are we doing with rubbish?
I said first of all.
At some point he has to speak.
First of all, you can say the response of government, including the apology or whatever explanation, could be muted, may be unsatisfactory, but the government has made that apology and regret. Now, we need to see an action from the relevant government entities. But I don't want us to enlarge the discourse, and we can lose. That's why I say KCCA leaders, the immediate duty bearers, owe the country a better explanation, or indeed a resignation. Otherwise, if we say everybody is responsible, then nobody will take responsibility. Yeah. But there's immediate duty bearers, who is the Lord Mayor and the Executive Director. And it is now up to them to go down and take the action. If they can't, but I know all of them are people we know like avoiding direct responsibility.
Okay, I have Flavia listening all the way from the US saying, I now understand what the saying, sorry is not good enough means. We need the political and technical team at KCA to accept their failure and resign. Abdul, if we move on for now to another topic, the court dismissed, I don't know what, is it the petition? And some of us don't know how to read these things well. So court says this thing is illegal, but it is wrong. Then after it has said that, lawyers are going to interpret for us. Then after that, they say they against the parliamentary commission. Then after that, the court also says, but the clerk is liable. So senior lawyer, senior counsel, so to speak. How do we understand these things? Break it down for us.
First of all, there was no dismissal of the petition. And my view about this particular matter, I took a decision.
My question has been very clear.
Yeah, but now let me just get No. Before I even speak, he's talking about tongues. I have one tongue. One, a certain Bwete took the parliamentary commission to court, seeking orders to declare what we call in law a judicial review process, to declare that the action taken by the commission was illegal, it was illogical, and all those grounds upon which a court can make a judicial review. A judicial review is a process where an institution or an organ of government has made a decision, and in the opinion of the complainant, that decision is illogical, it is unlawful, it is illegal. And that was the basic procedure. Two, the subject is well known. It is about the so-called service award payment given to the the four backbench commissioners, the three, and then the one who holds it in what we call ex officio capacity, the leader of opposition, but is a member of that commission by virtue of the position he holds. The court found, one, that there was a lot of there was some breaches of the Public Finance Management Act, and it placed the blame on the clerk to Parliament. It also found that, one, the monies that had been paid out had been initiated by the MDG, which is the Parliamentary Commission, went through the process, of approvals, because in the budget you start with MDG planning, and then
MDG is what?
Oscar.
I'm helping Oscar and Agatha.
It
and
is
Azawi.
ministries, departments, and agencies of government.
Excellent.
So once they plan, they come up with, they are given what we call the indicative figures by the Minister of Finance to plan the amount they have been given and prioritize them. Then once they make their policy statements, it comes to parliamentary committees, what we call sectoral committees, to examine them. And the sectoral committees also file reports to Parliament, and they adopt it. And once they adopt it, then it goes back to Finance, which now harmonizes them and brings them to Parliament as a budget. According to the court, that process included these payments. What, however, the court thought that, one, there are benefits that are by law, those of the former speakers, they are earned by law, but then they put in what they call ex gratia payment, and that is the one which is impugned, the ex gratia payment of the 1.7. So the court found fault to that. He said there should have been a distinction so that anybody reading and doesn't go into the details of each particular case would know that this is for this is for this. But was the money there? Yes, it was there. Did the cabinet, did the executive approve it? Yes, they did. And eventually it says it was budgeted for and it was paid out lawfully. However, the fault lies with the clerk to Parliament, who did it, I think, particularized. And they should have done that. Then they recommended the disciplinary action against the clerk.
Okay. Honorable Semuju, maybe you say these things in Uganda as well, because Abdu has been telling us the breach, what's the last one he used? The last word he used?
Well, when you speak the law, or you don't listen.
Yes. So, yeah.
The judgment, my conception of it as a non-lawyer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Say it in English of Uganda so that we get it.
It is contradictory. Because if you found a problem with the money and you have asked for disciplinary action against one of the officers, who I think, in my view, so the action cannot be just against the clerk. So you've said there is a problem, but you are saying there is no problem.
Yeah.
Maybe the lawyers can help.
Even with Abdul's explanation, I still have not understood why the clerk is at fault. Because the clerk paid out?
You see, the clerk, first of all, the point I made earlier when this debate was starting, when this debate was starting, the budget of the Parliamentary Commission is supposed to go to the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. During the consideration of the budget, we look at the budget performance, you look at codes, you look where money is placed, and so on and so forth. So if a whole chain of the hands that touch the parliamentary budget up to the last minute, including government, cabinet, you cannot isolate the clerk of parliament for punishing. I think everybody now should take responsibility in the same line. The day they considered, I sit on the Committee on Legal, the day that budget of Parliamentary Commission came, I did not attend the meeting. So I didn't look at it at the time the committee was looking at it. But it eventually came to the budget committee. I sit on the budget committee and I attended all the meetings. So the clerk to Parliament can only be punished if either he has diverted money from an item and then paid it under a different item, which these days is not very simple to do because money is coded even when finance is approving payment, you cannot bring money for salaries and use it to pay something else. You're going to be punished. So court said the clerk should be punished. I am trying to understand what crime did the clerk commit.
That is number one.
Which court didn't.
Then court said it was legal but wrong.
Yes, it is possible, by the way. You see, the whole discussion, Oscar, you have heard about payment of us MPs. There are more issues. It's not just the service award. And that's why people were protesting, said they want Parliament reduced. They also want us to be paid, I think the proposal was 3.5 million. So you can be paid legally, but...
yeah. Namfuka put it well. She said even apartheid was legal.
Yeah. So I don't find that contradictory.
Okay.
That you can pass the money when...
hold on, you're coming on microphone. Hold on. Yeah. Just hold on a second. He's going to finish and we come to you.
So you can legally sit in Parliament, give yourselves the money,
and say it is legal.
The only problem is after I listened to some of my colleagues who actually had gone to court during the COVID period. At that time, we had even passed money in the budget, the 20 million. But court found it difficult and said, no, what you did was wrong. So that time they found it wrong. This time they don't find it wrong. So courts in Uganda do that. I was in Masaka with Alan and Segirenya. They were released by a judge who said these are even important people. Another judge who was revoking he said these are important people who will interfere with the investigation. So the decision is made on the basis of the same facts. Yeah, so I think the matters of this nature may not necessarily be decided on law, even in courts of law. Okay. That's my feeling.
Yeah, Agora Parliamentary Exhibition. Agatha.
Oscar, what I wanted to say in way of just interjection was when Honorable Semiju says it can be legal and wrong, it's not a contradiction. I wanted to say, but the contradiction is that you can't find it wrong and say it is, and you do not, you decide the way you did. Because like Abd was saying, a judicial review looks at three things. 1, legality. 2, rationality. Now that's where wrong comes in. Was it rational? 3rd is procedural impropriety. Did it follow procedure? If it fails on any of those 3 grounds, then you cannot rule in the positive, like the person did, that it was okay. When you read that entire case, so and why the clerk is the one they just pointed out, is that judge says the clerk did not detect a flawed process. So the judge is actually saying that the process was flawed. And that falls under procedural impropriety. So you actually found that on 2 grounds that the service award fails. Because, it can be legal but irrational and it didn't follow procedure. And so in this country, what the law doesn't prohibit, people take that it allows. If there's no law saying no one can give themselves a judicial award, it can't be illegal. But is it rational? No. If you find that it is not rational, you do not now end up saying that it was okay. When you look at... But the first thing is that it didn't even fall under judicial review. Judicial review comes 3 months after that decision is taken.
Beyond
that, so the judge in the first place should not, and it gives credence to the rumor that I've heard that this Bwete, the petitioner, was a creation of the people that received the award. In the first place, you have no reason entertaining a judicial review over an issue that has taken 2 years, because the minutes, the resolution they were using is of May 2022. Then the budget they say that makes it legal is of 2023-2024, which is passed after that resolution. But all that for you find it okay, and you go and say it's the clerk who should pay for paying out for a process you have said
was lawful.
His words were flawed, but then you say it was okay. The other thing is that the item under which
it was okay, but this one is liable. The item under which it falls was called, I think, 3.5 million. 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 3.
pay benefits of speaker and deputy speaker.
Political leaders.
No. It was speaker and deputy speaker. Then on number 7, under payments to former speaker and deputy speaker, you have a leader of opposition. On number 6, you have a leader of opposition. Number 7, you have how are they speaker and deputy speaker? And you have a judge who has looked at all that and listed it, but comes and says it was okay and they are not liable. It was the most hilarious thing, but it was in Jesus. So sometimes you don't get so surprised about these things. Who refused to give Kakwenza his, with all torture marks, which also the court say someone who is tortured, you are not going to subject them to that. It's already. Anyway, let me not go into the other issues of Sinjisa, but the case was problematic. The ruling was very, very problematic.
Azawi, you're shaking your head vigorously.
Same lawyer.
Yes, it is the same judge.
For me, this country is full of comedians. I feel like the August House is a joking stock.
Well, there are 2 of them here.
I think every year they should host like an event for us to come and enjoy their drama and comedy and those tricks they play to make us look like fools. Because honestly, if you can say that something is wrong but then at the same time it's right, then that means we are no longer ashamed. We are no longer ashamed. And I feel like
in some ways
I feel like
Parliament is not that said that
I feel like this has also stemmed from the way we have been raised, because me as a Muganda Fabaganda tulina olugero olugamba nti omukulu takola ki tasobya. And I feel like so many grown-ups, so many adults have hidden themselves behind that narrative, and they just do stuff the wrong way and get away with it because we don't make mistakes. You guys will understand. You won't understand until you are in my position. Wrong is wrong. Wrong is wrong. And it's quite absurd that it's the young people that are calling out you guys for accountability. As I told you guys before, you have the luxury to give someone who is already privileged 500, 400 million Ugandan shillings. But then there is one person down there in the ghetto, and these are the majority of Ugandans, who just struggles to get 1,000 a day to survive. And at the end of the day, you come on our roads with the obutala, membera no obutala bikasera, but we give you free right of way just for you to go in public office and waste our time like that.
Our money.
The judicial system is also a laughing stock. Like, who does that? How do you go to your bed and sleep and wake up one morning when you are playing with people's money like that? Lives. Honestly, if God had like a lens that screens the bad spirits that walk with the people that do atrocities to this country, you would be so shocked. Someone can wear a tie, but he's surrounded by demons. And he enters the parliament, he does the wrong deeds and goes back to his house with those deeds, those demons following around him. Because the more you do bad stuff, the more you attract bad spirits around you. And at the end of the day, the thing you justify for your actions is I'm taking care of my family, I'm preparing the future for with that kind of blood money.
People are listening, and the way they quickly post things. Aaron says the statement Azawi is looking for is OHT Watasobia. Quickly they post these responses.
Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons as to why the African, leadership and governance has deteriorated, because we were raised with that culture. Grown people don't do mistakes, and they have taken advantage of that, and they have not come out for any accountability, because babakuza nti bwokera ku makya n'oyokya, you get away with it.
Okay. Let's go to
So
Opondo.
it's just actually you try so much not to get angry when you try as much as possible to keep your composure, but by the end of it you just lose
But I
yourself.
think that statement was there when that time adults were vulnerable, and like they earned that.
Yeah, they were protecting themselves from criticism. Yeah.
Let's first go to Opondo here. Oh, you've been looking at Azawi.
Looking at me.
No. He's been looking at Azawi and like young people are telling old people.
I was the looker. Why are you now disputing? Where were you in my eyes? Anyway.
Mr. Luca.
I was the looker. Now
You particularly looked at her and said, now it is the young people telling old people.
In one way, I agree with the Justice Singeza. Singeza. Although some people are accusing him of playing a kabaddi.
What is a kabaddi?
Somersault. I think somersault.
Uganda show.
I think somersault.
That's why it is not Uganda.
Now,
it is not Uganda. What is what? I don't know.
No, the service award is problematic in this case because these guys had just served less than a year in their offices.
And they are still serving.
And therefore, where was the rationale for giving them, for thanking them when they were hardly a year? So, I think there's a problem with that. Secondly, they tried to hide the fact that they had got the money underhand. You remember when the Bompoga went on the rallies around the country saying, I wish I could get that money. And that's when it was proved by Obore, the spokesman of Parliament, that actually the money was paid out. Actually, the Parliamentary Commission borrowed from the Parliamentary Circle that money to pay them, so that by the time the budget comes, you say, we have already paid. So actually, they borrowed at interest. The government made the losses. But because they played the kabaddi, I think the judge did not want to go into those details. And I want to believe that Wete, while he's a Ugandan and is free to go to court, I suspect he was doing somebody's handwork. Now,
But whenever someone does something good, you suspect bad out of it.
That's human nature. That's why we inquire. We don't take, and especially now in the case of Parliament and leadership in Uganda, we say we take certain things with a pinch of salt, because on many occasions we have been found wanting. And when I say we, it includes Parliament, includes people in leadership. Honorable Semja has told you many times, for example, that the budget for members of Parliament's vehicle was 150 million. Yes, but when they actually went to give them, they added them 50 million, which wasn't in the budget, and so on and so forth. So, yes, so we have been found wanting on many occasions, and therefore the decisions members of Parliament or Parliament takes ought to be taken not on face value. We should inquire into. I think the other question you could have asked, in my view, the lawyers and the members of Parliament, where does Justice Singeza's ruling leave the Sechikubo petition, for example? Where does it leave? Of course, I know that Sechikubo says he has forwarded this petition to the clerk, who should inform the Speaker, and within 14 days we expect probably a debate, or maybe the Speaker will use her authority to mute it, to say the matter has been decided by a court, overtaken by events, and therefore no debate. And maybe those are the kind of things we could discuss. Where does this ruling leave that petition?
Does the motion ask the same questions as this application, the judicial review application?
I don't know.
It doesn't.
Sechikubo himself has not made the contents of the petition well known. At least I have not seen the media.
Yes, he said, but we'll go to that.
I have not seen in detail what the petition to the clerk to parliament and the speaker, therefore, is all about.
When he was on gang, he said the petition is just to get them to speak on the floor of parliament, not censure.
I am saying, I would expect.
You haven't read.
I expect that now that he has forwarded his petition, it ought to be published in full in the media, so that we are not debating guesswork, so that we know a remote Gumba or not.
And for you, are you satisfied with the clerk, with the statement that the clerk is liable?
I wrote when this matter came out, the matter of abuse in parliament. Actually, at that time, I said the axe should have fallen on Adolf's head, on his neck. That time, that's what I said. I still believe so. And the Auditor General, by the way, because I said, how come Adolf is a senior lawyer for a minister? He has interacted with the classified. How can all these things we hear happening in the parliament happen? Where has it been looking? That money can be
banked
shifted
on individual accounts.
On another show, Sechiko told us that there are fictitious trips, foreign trips by members of parliament. Fictitious, this is what Sechiko said, that there are people who get money as if they are traveling, they don't travel. There's even now a rumor, people are investigating, that actually some members of parliament get money. They said their passports, for example, by courier to Nairobi. It is stamped there. That there's a net. No, incredible. No. I'm telling you.
Don't reduce this.
No.
That you send a passport for an immigration and it's stamped by courier.
You can hear the heckling. I am saying where this country
has it ever happened?
Where things I'm telling you. What the issues emerging are.
Okay.
That they are actually people.
I was going to say we stop for a break, but let me give you an extra 2 minutes.
Protect him. And I protect him.
There are people who
This is the
say they are stamped when they have not traveled and it is brought back. Knowing that we want to know the details.
Oh, this is the first. Agatha wants to protect you.
No, but they are saying this is gossip. So what I've heard, which is similar to that.
Also gossip, according to
no, that one I know.
Okay.
Is that if, for example, Honorable Semju gets 17...
Don't use his name in bad things.
17 days to travel, he will go and come back...
In 2 days.
But he will go back on the 17th day and come back so that it is stamped that he returned...
On the 17th
on
day.
the 17th day. That happens.
Somebody just said it's possible.
That happens.
Let's stop for a break.
He buys another ticket.
Welcome back from the break. It's a big argument in the break. Wafano Pondo is taking on the parliamentarians, and Abdul Nemim, spokesman of parliament, he's faced fire. You know, last week you and Katesh agreed with Semoju, a rare occurrence as well. Yes, I beg your pardon, yeah. But you remember they agreed that this is a season where parliament is under fire and anything with parliament goes. So maybe it is a season of...
not season.
Lift up your microphone.
I think parliament as an institution and this leadership, in my view, mishandled this expose when it began. And by so doing, they have unnecessarily and painfully lengthened the discussion and the bad light in which Parliament is being reflected. I think it is still possible for them to step back, own up some of the things, explain forthright, and the public will say, for example, I have said, if they said there's a committee of parliament inquiring, we are establishing maybe a select committee inquiring into all these things, I think that's one way.
Okay.
To assuage the public anger. Many of the things may be misplaced, the accusations, but parliament needs to step back.
Okay.
We cannot continue this way until the end of the year, when every other day there is something finally coming out.
The Lydia coming, at least when there's a time when Lydia, you said at least Semuju spoke about these things. But going back to where we were, Lydia, on microphone, court judgment. And now, because a lot has been discussed, I don't know if you want to add on, but ask an important question. So what happens to Sechikubo petition?
You see, Oscar, there is the law, but also the moral fiber. Of course, I hear people saying, we are not lawyers, but even those who are beginning to comment about the case, and they want to make a disclaimer that because you're not a lawyer, you're not able to see. But even Abdul Katuntu knows here that not everything in public life can be legislated upon or is by the law. Recently, I listened to the leader of the Muslim faith in Chibuli, the Prince Nachibinge, on Eid Day. In his prayer and message, he said, if the problem are the laws, can government of Uganda de-legislate or amend laws so that the laws are aligned to humanity and that the laws serve the interests of the majority? If nobody ever listened to that message, then we have a problem. That was a very strong message from a leader you cannot wish away. Prince Nachibinge is a very celebrated leader of our community, but you could see him using Eid Day to talk like that. Now, Oscar, for me, I'm from the Anglican faith, and I got married in the church. There are vows we take. That's the law of the marriage in the church. It's just like 2-3 sentences that for better, for worse, and then until death. And of course, now I'm a widow. It spoke to me. But if I just use those 2 words in my marriage, I would have never lived so many years in marriage until the death of my husband. There are things we must do, whether the laws are on our side or not on our side. That judgment of Judge Singiza and even the timing of it should not even be respected under our laws, statutory books, because it does not have a moral fiber. It was wrong in the first place. Let Parliament go back to the basics of service. And you do not need laws to serve people. The right is right. You cannot ever say you need the law to know what is right and what is wrong. That's where I stand. And I really want to plead with people, if in leadership positions, to look at what you think right. You can never fail to know what is right. Begin with yourself in your home. What's good for you? Must be good for Katutu.
What have you given to those 3 girls over there?
Must be good for OO.
What have you given to the 3 girls over there?
So I don't want to wish anybody.
Are you from Gaza? No.
Now you want to bring Gaza things. I've been having problems of Gaza.
One of you is
Gerardini Sali is a Gaza girl. Dora Chisaka is a Gaza girl. Not for disturbing a bit, but for me, we were brought up by the best schools and the values. Let people do their work. It's not about the law. And the Katuntu is our husband. So now you see these things. But I think my point has been made. Let's not use laws to cover up things we can do from the moral pedestal being right.
Maybe being a bit unfair. The judge didn't bring the case to himself. The case was brought.
Now you've heard about Ubwete. First of all, who is Ubwete?
Someone who went.
Secondly, I don't want to repeat the legal issues that colleagues have raised here. Such a matter, you hold it on your own. It is speedy in a closed session. What is that you are doing to the country? So, and that's why it is raising suspicions when actually the floor of Parliament is available. Debate these things, show that it was legally done and that it is morally right and that it is good for the country, and we move on. By the way, I was in the SEC caucus yesterday. Honorable, one of the members of Parliament came with these awards they were given plaques or whatever for awards. He was there moving around with the medali, trying to say that there are alternatives to awards. So their debate should go on because it has remained on the table for a long time, and it is not helping us to utilize Parliament to serve people. That's my opinion. This is a matter that can be put off the table very fast by explaining, and even if you want to make it legal properly so that we live with it and life goes on.
Yeah. And 186 people signed Sechikubo petition. So if it's not given an audience, then what happens to the 186 that said they'll sign?
I don't know. I mean, the speaker, the office of the speaker has discretionary powers, like the same with the judges. All different levels of courts have discretion of the judge. That discretion space is actually what we want to be used. It should not be witched away. It should not be undermined. Because as a human being, by the time you go to those ranks, you've built maturity of reason and judgment. The discretionary powers in these offices are real, but they are supposed to protect and enhance the powers to be pro-people, to be to have empathy, to do things for the public, for the wider good, for the public good. So I think that you will never, Oscar, let's take it away to that. You can never legislate on everything. Laws and the guidelines are supposed to be generic in nature, but the specifics is for the office bearer to dispense leadership because of your history, because of the exposure, because of your competence, and because of the skills. That's what I wanted to say. And for what Azawi said, Azawi, before you were born and many people, those days, by the time people who hold these offices reach those levels, they would have built competencies to be empathetic, to serve people, so that they don't even need laws. They just need the structure or the competence of an individual up there. You just need to be your role model, so that those old names, even some of them have died, but they exist because they were impeccable. They were up there, very respectful, beyond reproach, not corrupt. You know,
they were in Bali.
They were magnanimous to people.
Everyone had a toilet. They had to plant a tree.
Yes,
these were the old people you were talking about.
They had what they call where you hang clothes, sanitation, where you put plates, where the kitchen, where you go to the clean and clean the toilets, or even if they were pit latrines, they were smoked and kept clean. So those are the leaders of that. No wonder there was no need for legislation that was detailed about them, because they themselves espoused what a leader should be. But these days, people are smart, they get there, and then you realize that, the office does not resonate with the character and with the actions of the... Then we suffer with it, because then they are protected by terms of the term or the nature of the office. I don't know whether you're getting my point. So we cannot legislate manners. We cannot legislate character. We cannot legislate competence. You must earn it. And that's where the challenge is.
Yeah. They sending microphone back to Azawi. They you know, this is really just more like a Gen Z, because we are online in Kampala and people are saying, imagine this is Kazungu. He says, imagine I charged the whole night, but I have no speakers. So I don't know why he can't put the thing on loud. So someone replies to him, is Bogere, says, use Audio's Play app, the best online radio app. So an end customer says, even if pardon?
We are not yet on
in Kampala we are online, yes, but outside Kampala very clear. Even if a service award had been ruled illegal, focusing on it alone blinds us to the big picture. It was immoral in my view, and it continues. Azawi.
For me, okay. Yes, the court ruled that as a rightful payment, but for me, still turns out as, wastage. Policymakers, our leadership is wasting a lot of public money on less important things, and of course, people down there on the streets, people on the ground, they talk about these things. It's not just when I come out, it's just me who's being big-headed. And the saddest thing is that when you come out and try, to talk about these things, you understand? Like, how many people are you going to pay to shut them up?
These days,
yes, why don't you do the right things so that nobody has, the urge to even talk?
Yeah.
Why don't you be responsible? What do you lose when you step in that public office and do exactly what brought you there?
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Those are the things that we want as, you know, as citizens of this country. We just want people to do their job. Because for us, at the end of the day, if I don't pay tax, you see how the government is going to come after me. You see how the authority will come after me. But for us, when we ask you questions, then it's we are doing wrong. We are being nosy. We are not. Some people say focus on music. Like, come on.
Okay.
Let's be serious.
Coming back to you, Abdu Katuntu, first I should say thank you to Star Cafe. I hope you have engaged with Star Cafe. As are we here, we don't carry a chapati in the pocket. We are very safe. She carried. No, next time you should. Pardon? She carried Cafe Javas. No. Here Star Cafe provides and we eat.
No.
So, Abdu, on a sad note, your brother passed away. You know, we only found out he's your brother when he came on the show. The first time he said, you know, my brother, he comes on this show and he speaks English. This is Tamale Mirundi. You remember? And then the second time when he came, he just walked away in anger. He walked away in anger. He said, all this English, but we have Abdu here and Ofono Pondo, let them speak. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Oh, yes. Of course, I have to confirm that I'm related to Tamale Mirundi. His mother and my stepmother are sisters. And it's, you know, all of us human beings, we all have this contradiction. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to pick which of the two favors you. But character and reputation. Some people, many times, still mind more about their reputation than actually what they are, what you call character. And in the process, they become pretenders because they are more worried about how people will judge them. Reputation is about how people judge you. Character is you, yourself, is your gene in you. And Tamale Mirundi never had that contradiction in him at all. What you saw, what is what he was. He didn't say anything because he had to please Ofono Pondo, including sometimes when Ofono Pondo is his friend. His views, he was so candid and sometimes uncomfortably candid. His views about his own kingdom, his views about his own Catholic religion, his views about his own political party, his views about his own hero, President Museveni, were sometimes, flattering and sometimes so critical. And that was Tamale. Let me tell you, Tamale, let his soul rest in peace, but he was himself very courageous, but honest. Honest. The biggest problem this country has, sometimes humanity, is the dishonest people are too many. Too many. What they do and what they say is not what they are. They do it for purely how the public judge them. Just look at, he used to move with the rosary. And
he said he was not a believer.
And then he would go ahead and criticize the Catholic Church. But he carried his rosary throughout. He was a Muganda. He didn't have any qualms about being called a Muganda, and he believed in his own tribe. But he was critical of the kingdom. He was so courageous. And one time, I'm sure all knows this, that he even had a bet with President Museveni. And a public bet they had. And actually, he was paid the money because he won the bet. He was paid the money. He said, no, what you are saying is not correct, and let us bet. And Tamale turned out to be on the right side of that.
The president agreed to the bet?
Yes, he actually paid. He actually paid him.
Well, in 1994. First of all, I want to say we'll go back in time with the Tamale as the media people. In 1994, at the height of the LRA war, insurgency in the north, what a press conference in Kasero, and the president said by December of that year, 94, Kony would be no more, LRA would be no more. Because the president had made these vows many times before and had come to pass. So Tamale said, yeah. And so Tamale said, no, Mr. President, you will not defeat Kony as you claim. And
by that time.
And then the president said, well, are you willing to bet? Tamale said, yes. How much? 2 million. And the president also said, okay, I also put 2 million. By December, Kony's war was not just raging, but had expanded.
And by that time, also, you see, President Museveni at that time used to have regular press conferences where he would allow questions from journalists.
Every 3 months, yes.
Yes. These days he doesn't have, or has advised him not to have those sort of conferences.
No.
He only comes, that's
with 2 or 3 ministers.
He comes, he addresses and goes away. But
sometimes he comes with 2 ministers who he allows to talk.
So, no, what I'm talking about, you see, press conferences, you come and then you allow journalists to ask you questions and you answer. He was so free with those questions, including very uncomfortable ones like that of Tamale Mironi.
So
let him just finish his last sentence. We'll come to you.
So, to me, that was Tamale, very courageous, but above all, a self-made man. You see, people don't know Tamale. They've seen Tamale, who was now almost a hero, is on a show, and thousands, maybe millions of fans listening to his show, even watching his show
in the diaspora as well.
On a prime time NBS. Everybody's like Tamale, and so on. That boy was actually a sweeper in one of those local newspapers, and he rose from a sweeper. And a sweeper, I think he had just gone up to senior 4, or he had dropped out of high school. Eventually, he had to go to university, have a degree, rise from a sweeper to a reporter, to a senior journalist. He was even...
He had very many publications.
He may not have used this colorful, language of Buckingham Palace English and so on, but he was even a writer. Call them manuscripts and so pamphlets. He would call them books, but they are really not books.
It was a pamphlet, yeah.
But was a pamphlet, yeah. He would write it, and when you look at most of his writings, it is so philosophical. You need to read them. They are not the easy and was writings. So philosophical. Let his soul rest in peace.
2 minutes.
Well, I was saying we go back in time. I found him in journalism. In 1990, he had probably close to 10 years already. As Abudu says, he wrote his own story is that he came from Chotera at the age of 14 and walked into Muno newspaper. Muno was a Uganda newspaper, being published by the Catholic Church. And went there. He was given a job as a sweeper. He rose through the ranks as a messenger. Eventually was given copies to sell on the streets. And along the way, he picked his way in journalism. But that is not necessarily unique to him. That was actually the old journalists of Uganda, because there was no school here training journalists. So that's how many people. And by the way, that's also the story of William Pike, by the way. He tells you that he also he picked his way. More or less like the banking sector. He used to go into the bank, you start as a sweeper and you go through. Yes. So in 1994, Tamale had this bet with the president, and he wins the bet. Now, instead of the president giving him the 2 million, that time also coincided with Makerere University opening up its gates for private students, and particularly the mass communication department. In 95, the Ogutus and ourselves who were educated had pushed through the NRC Parliament a law, Uganda Media Journalist Statute, President Journalist Statute, which required to be a journalist to practice, you had to have a degree, a degree in mass communication, or a degree and a diploma in something. The Tamales didn't have that. We used to actually call them quacks. And President Museveni used to call them fish. People had failed to fish and were trying their hand in journalism. Really, to say you are up to no good in that profession.
Okay.
So anyway, the president then offers and said, instead of giving you this 2 million, why don't I pay your school fees? And Tamale goes to Makere, obtains admission, and State House sponsors him. That also coincided with the demise of Muno, the Star, and Ngabo. And Tamale got stuck, so he started a reporter. There used to be a newspaper called The Reporter, but he didn't go very far. That also coincided with the campaign of 1996. Moses Birahanga, our own, together with the Honorable Sam Kutesa, picked Tamale's hand. They brought him into elect YK task force together with us to join us in the communication department. And as they say, he never looks back. Amelia Chamba, they picked him and took him to State House in the press department, where he rose to the level of press secretary.
Okay.
May he so rest in eternal peace. He was one of the most
Lydia,
yes, you can never
2
have.
minutes on Tamale Mirundi.
I would like to extend my condolences to Tamale's family, his wives, and he had many wives, and to his children. I know one of them who is a staff at Parliament, but there are many others whom I may not know, but I stand with them at the loss of their father. I feared Tamale, and he was told about this. Many times they would talk about the NRM and pinpoint on some of us. I cannot respond to Tamale, I cannot go near him. So you knew that I feared him. But one time when I could not manage to even engage or respond, so I chose to keep away and fear him. So one time when I was in Italy, I brought for him a rosary. And I said that could be the relationship we have. So many times he would do talking about NRM. I talk about NRM, but don't mention it because I cannot manage to respond to you, because Tamale's tongue was too hot to respond to. But he lived.
Thank you.
He lived a life of public engagement. And if you rubbed him on the wrong way, even if you did not, if he had come for you, he would have you for his lunch or dinner.
Agatha.
So I hope that the people that he rubbed wrongly, let me say this cartoon to like you hear about relative, may they forgive him so that he can rest in peace, and may he also in his resting place forgive those engaged. May
Agatha,
so
1 minute on Tamale Mirundi.
Yes, 1 minute.
Did you know about him?
Because I know very little about Tamale Mirundi.
So 1 minute will suffice.
And I remember just the clips that would find me somewhere. That's where he said that the day he dies and goes to heaven and finds Andrew Mwenda there, he will know he's in the wrong place. So now I don't know who he found there and what he thought. But I think I also know that he's the one who told us about Abanyampi, right? He has a book about it, or
yes, he has a pamphlet on it.
And he was the biggest Munyampi of them all, and he was the right one to identify them for us. But may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Azawi, you have done well on social media on this one, but before you conclude, I should tell Moses, we tell Abdul Hussein, this is Busoga Informed. I don't know if this is your secret Twitter account or X account. It says Museveni told Ugandans that he removed all powers to run Kampala from Lukwago. He even mocked him that he only left him with ceremonial chains, that he'll run it directly from State House through many and so on. That is Busoga Informed. Final word on the Capital Gang, Azawi.
I, as well, just like Agatha said, I know very little about the late Tamale Mirundi. But of course, I send my sincere condolences to the family. May God strengthen in this difficult time. Yeah, to wind up, I feel like I feel like nothing is going to change. We're going to keep on talking, and I feel like even the people who are doing the right things in public office cannot execute them to their best, because there are so many speed limiters in that place. You do something right, then someone else comes, to halt it and make it, deteriorate. So I feel like we just need to, is it called overhaul?
Overhaul.
To overhaul the entire leadership of this country. I've seen so many people saying, Azawi, you want to come in public service and do this and that, but me as a Zawi, I feel like my efforts will just go to waste, because you can't perform well in a poorly functioning system. Like, you can't. There's someone said that you cannot be man of the match in a losing in a losing team. Like, there's no way. Like, we all of us, for this country to get better, all of us have to do our job, and there's no way you can.
I have my friend Jackie in the UK says, so I've listened to some Azawi music on YouTube, love the sound, but could she please write some music in which women are not defined by men, and winning or keeping your man? That's the music she wants you to write. So thank you so much, listeners.
Women have to be defined by
Pardon?
Women have to be defined by men.
For me, I sing about reality.
You sing about reality.
Defined by women.
Yeah, I sing about reality. So I don't know.
So thank you very much, listeners of the Capital Gang. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. Thank you, gangsters of the day. Honorable Katunto, Honorable Semuju, Honorable Anyoto. Fonopondo, thank you so much for your contribution on the gang. Thank you so much for recognizing Azawi when you came in. I'm
going to try and woo Azawi and Agatha.
Sure. Azawi and Agatha, take them to NRM.
Preferably, yes. But to say, if things are broken, you cannot stand on the outside.
You have to come
inside
and fix. So thank you, Agatha Athaire, and thank you, Azawi. I am Oscar Semoya Msoke, and I shall see you next week.